Hello everyone, this is week 7. Today we're going to be going into more advanced or more specialized tutorials. Everything up until now was more just foundational skills for using Blender, so everything we've learned thus far we can use to succeed with all of our projects going forward. But there might be cases where, depending on what your project is, depending on what you're attempting to model or the style you're going for, there might be more specific tools or more advanced methods that might help you either model different things or go for different styles again. So today we're going to be using Grease Pencil. It's a way of drawing, like 2D drawing, into Blender and making it a 3D object. Usually I think it was made for like 2D animation, but we're going to be using it for the purposes of modeling. So if you have a tablet, feel free to use that. I'm just going to be using my mouse for today. But you can use your tablet for this because it does have like the pressure sensitivities and such, which might be handy. But also don't worry if you don't have a tablet. I'm just going to use my mouse for this, so you'll see my beautiful mouse drawings. So let's get started. And I do just want to point out as I'm opening up Blender, if you are really into working the 2D side of this, like when this class is over and you want to continue doing this for like any of your future classes, there is a special like 2D animation file you could open up instead of the general one. That's just going to have really just be focused on the 2D animation side, but we're just going to use the general one because we're going to do it for modeling. And let's make this full screen. And first thing I want to do is actually bring up a 2D animation workspace. So even though I have the like general one open, let's make a workspace for ourselves. So the very top, at the end of all the workspaces, there's a plus sign. You could pull in a 2D animation one. So now this is like the screen that would come up if we open the different Blender file. This is going to have all the tools we need for using our Grease Pencil. Right away I'm just going to delete my cube. And at the bottom you're going to notice we have like a timeline pulled up. I just want to point out that if there's a moment when you're working in this and what you've drawn isn't showing up anymore, it could just be that you drew it in a different moment in time. So there are like hotkeys to like make your timeline turn on where you might accidentally trigger it. So if you notice that something just disappeared and your time isn't at this one, that like start time, you might have accidentally like traveled in time. So your stuff still exists, it's just like it's time traveling. So make sure your timeline stays at 1 so that everything is drawn in the same moment in time. So disclaimer, no time traveling modeling. So let's first bring in our Grease Pencil object. So Shift A, there is a Grease Pencil section. It has a few things. We're just going to go with blank, but you can also pull up one of the pre-existing ones just to like play around with it, or any of the tools I introduced today if that helps you out. You can also like see how they separate and do the materials for their drawing, which might help with you in the future. So they actually like drew in shadows on this guy. So I'm gonna delete him, we don't want him. Or it's a lady monkey. So Shift A, Grease Pencil, blank. We don't see anything, but we do see in our outliner it says G Pencil, so that's perfect. When you're drawing something, keep in mind what you want to be the same object compared to what you want separate. So today we're just going to draw like a little book. So probably all of that we can do one object. The only thing that might be separate is if you wanted to like open up the book, you might want like the top, what is this called? Cover to be a separate one to easily like open it up and such. But most part, you can keep everything as one object. But if I went from modeling this book to modeling a bookcase, I would want to make sure I make a separate G pencil object for that. Because once we actually start working in it, you'll see like it doesn't really like seem like you have to move out of this object to like draw something else. So make sure you're grouping stuff so that this is only our book. If I went in to draw a bookcase, I did a new Shift A and made a new grease pencil area to draw in. So well, we just need the book. So first thing we're going to do is go into a new mode. So before we've been hitting tab to toggle between object and edit mode, and you can see we're toggling because in the top left corner it's changing to object or edit. If we click up there, we can see a few more options. So today we're actually going to go into draw and sculpt mode. First let's go into draw. And on the left side we have all of our drawing options. We have our little pen that we can draw with now. Before we actually get started, we're going to do some setup with our pen, so change some of our settings, and we're also going to put like a material and layers. So if you've worked in Photoshop, you've probably worked with layers where you're drawing in like on different pieces of paper, like trace paper that overlap, so you can have more control over each one. So first, quickly going over the pencil options, that very top bar is where all those options are. The very left is like the style of pencil. So, I mean, if you have a specific style you're going for, you might choose one or the other. Also, this might be handy if you are working with a tablet. You can see like the effects of changing direction, changing the tilts of your pen, and then playing with the pressure settings. So pressure settings will be next to like radius and strength. So radius is the size. If you have pressure settings, harder you press, the thicker it'll be. Strength, harder you press, the more solid it would be. So it's more like opacity. We're just going to work with the pen. It's a good generic one. Again, this is the default size 25. We can change that if we want. Make it thicker or skinnier. I'm just going to keep it at the 25. Then if you want a different opacity, you can play around with strength. Also, if you really are interested in all of this, there are more advanced settings to, I just forgot the word, customize your brush. But I'm not as experienced in that, so we're just going to do the default brush. So we have our brush set up. Let's put a material on it. So while we're working in this, it's going to be a little bit different workflow than when we were doing mesh, like modeling with meshes and primitives, because that we kind of made our full modeling with like a cube to model this out, and then at the very end we put textures on. For this, it's handy to do materials as you're working, just to like, otherwise you're going to have like a 2D like wireframe filling up your view and it can get a little overwhelming. So let's put a material. So go to your material properties icon, that little red globe. Let's add a new one. This is different than what we're used to. This has special material just for our grease pencil. This is going to be my M top cover, or no, just my cover, or my outline. Just keep changing. This is just going to be like my pencil outline. Sorry, I was thinking of like layers. All of my default stuff is fine for this. Eventually we will be working with the fill option, but this is just for our line. If you did want a different color line, you can go ahead and change that. You're going to notice it's like this creepy like dark version, and that's because lights are automatically having an effect in our scene. If you did want to work with a color, and don't want lighting to affect it either while you're working or for your final render, you'll change that in object data properties. There's just like a use lights toggle. So that's in the green squiggle. We're going to be changing between the green squiggle and the red globe, so object data properties and material properties throughout this lesson. So you can toggle that if you would like. But I'm just going to keep mine black to be my outline. Oh, first let me delete this. Okay. Black. And then let's get it going. Let's go. So, one more thing to set up, I'm going to make a layer and then we'll actually get drawing. So in the object data properties, so that green string, at the very top you have layers, so I can make a new layer. This is where I'm going to separate mine. This depends on how you like working. I make a lot of layers, so I'll probably make one for like my cover, one for my spine, one for my back cover, one for like this side, one for this side. So you'll see later on why it's helpful to have many, because I could like make some invisible to make alterations to some. So it'll be handy. It'll just be like a lot of layers. So this is going to be the cover. Out for outline. Cover T. And this is going to draw, this is where I'll draw the top cover. So I'm going to turn off use lights just because I like the vibrance, the full black vibrance. Gotta get that. Okay. Use my correct hotkeys. So the main thing of today really is going to be getting used to positioning ourselves in the 3D space to actually draw. So if I go in and I'm like, let me draw a square to be like the cover of my book. And then I toggle around, you can see it's like at this dramatic angle. And that's because it's just drawing it in regards to like how my camera is facing. So this isn't ideal because I can't really tell what's happening. I'm like trying to draw a book, but it's not working out too well. So again, most of today's lesson is going to be learning how to actually get everything set up so we know where that drawing is going when we're drawing it. So the very top center of our viewport is where we'll change all of this up. Right now it's just at view. So wherever my view is pointed, that's where the piece of paper is. Like it's laying on my screen and I'm drawing on it. So I could go into an orthographic view and that'll perfectly draw out like on my flat piece of paper, but we also have this different way of working that we'll work with for today that'll be a little bit handier. But again, you could do orthographic views, but then you can't really see like what's going on in 3D still. But we can change this from view to front side top cursor. So this is restricting it to two of our planes. So this made it the XZ is where our piece of paper is sticking if we wanted that top view, and make XY be where our piece of paper is. But it's kind of hard to tell which one we have selected. Like it's saying front side top. I can kind of tell this would be the top view just because of where the grid is laying. But to have a better visualization of where our line will be squiggled, we have to put down what we call a canvas. So at the very top right of our viewport, there's those two overlapping circles like a Venn diagram, and it's called Show Overlays. If you click on that drop down, and then near the very bottom, under onion skin, under the onion skin, you'll find the canvas under the onion skin. You want to click Canvas. You can change the scale of it, but it doesn't matter. It might matter if you're bad at drawing lines like I am, because you can kind of like trace the lines. Yeah. So now we have this like baby grid in our scene, and if I change between front, side, and top, you can see the little guy moving. Also, if I go to view, you can see that the little canvas just stays with my screen. So now, like, I can tell that it's going to be laying on that axis, this axis. Even if I'm drawing like this, it'll be stretched out all wonky. And same with top. If I draw like this, where I'm like, ooh, I'm drawing up and down, but if I go up, you can see it's stretching it. Oh, it stretched it real far on my XY plane. So we're going to be using this. And there'll be more steps to using this, which will be the hard part. But for now, this is our top cover. Perfect. Let's draw a square. You could go into your orthographic top view if you want, or you can stay in perspective view, which either one is good. Let's go for top view for mine. And now just draw whatever size cover you want. And you don't have to like hold down the mouse the whole way around. You can let go and like re-click. And if you mess up a line, you can either undo it and redraw it, or I'm going to be showing you some tools that will help you like clean up your lines a bit. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. It was going so straight. It's fine. And then let's say I'm going to just draw a little, because I have stickers. I have like this weird like Teddy dressed as a toucan sticker. I'm just going to draw a star. I'm not going to draw a toucan. I'm just going to draw a little star. This is going to be an example for later of what's going to happen. Is this going to be the best star I've ever drawn? No. Ugh. 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 Okay, so there's my top cover. I have a beautiful square. If it's not a beautiful square, we're going to fix it. So, we have a few tools within Draw and then a few tools in one of these other sections I'll show you. But within Draw, say I had like drawn like really far past my line for each one, I do have an eraser I can go in and use and like erase in chunks. You'll see the very top row where we had our brush settings. We also have eraser settings, so you can change the size, change the style, like the softness or hardness of your eraser. But you also have this handy thing called the cutter, where it kind of just like guesstimates what it thinks you want. So if you have a whole overlapping edge and you kind of just like left click and glance this cut over it, it'll be like, oh, do you mean you don't want this entire awkward clip? But this might, like, since it's making assumptions, if you try to like circle something and it deletes something you didn't intend, that's just because it's just doing its best, and its best isn't good enough. So you do have that, or you have your eraser, and again, this you'll just like draw a little loop, and depending on what that loop intersects is how it decides like what it's going to delete. But we also, if we're not, actually I wanna fix that. I wanna fix it. Okay. We can also, sorry, I'm zooming a lot today. I should put a motion sickness warning on this video. We also have sculpt mode. So technically we have edit mode where we can go in just to like visualize what our like actual squiggle is made up of. You can see we have like vertex mode, which we see the points. We can see the line, the edge, or we have, this isn't a face, so I don't know what that is. But I mean, this is made up of points, so technically you could go in, like grab a point, move it around, individually you can rescale stuff. So if this isn't straight enough, you could you could you could you could grab all of these points and technically you can scale them in the X direction, yes, and like scale them towards each other to make a straighter line. Like that's pretty fancy. But we also, why I'm here, is I want to go to sculpt mode. So go back to our stroke. So we also have a sculpt mode. I'm not going to mess with any of these tools. I'm just going to use the default one, which is push. So if you accidentally go off of push, I will only ever be using push because I'm not advanced. But for this, we can go in and grab onto our squiggle and move it around. And we can change the scale of our grab, so kind of like that soft selection. But this hotkey is F, so think like F for fix. So we have to fix our line. So F, you can change the scale of how much you grab. And this is where you can kind of see if I pull stuff that it gives us like sharp points. So that's just where those points are that make up the line. So if you do need more points to make it smoother, you can technically go into edit mode and add like, if you do the selection and then right click, you can hit subdivide. So hot tip. But otherwise we're just going to hit F, scale this, and we can like smush stuff around to try to make it a little bit better of a line. Also, when you're doing this, I mean, it won't really come up yet, but you want to make sure you're in the same plane that we drew this in. So if I randomly like went to side and was like moving this around, oh, it's still doing it in top view. Eventually that'll become relevant. I guess it doesn't matter for now. But technically, always try to keep your plane in whatever direction you want to be moving your business around. So I guess I just really want to fix this guy in the corner. And I think I'll be happy. That's a box-ish. So we have our top cover. Let's go ahead and make our bottom cover by just duplicating this. So let's go into edit mode. Let's select all, but I actually don't want I don't want the star. Is this inverse? How do I do inverse? Inverse selection. So if you also don't want your star, if you go into edit mode, select your star and then do select invert, then we don't have to deal with our star. Then I could do shift D, constrict it to Z to only move it up or down. And let's make a nice thick book. This is my reference book, isn't it that thick? It's a cartoon style. Let's just have fun, everyone. So that made it on the same layer, so just be aware of that. If you did want a separate layer, you could just draw a new one. You could technically just go into top view, move this plane down, go into top view, and then you can draw it as a separate layer if you want. I'm just gonna keep mine the same, which I might regret later. It's fine. But let's start making, let's color this in and then we'll make some more sides. This might be an occasion where I immediately regret my decision. It's fine. I'll show you why I would regret it. My regret will be you guys learning. So I'm going to go back to draw mode. I'm going to go, first I'll make a new layer, which is going to be my cover or fill. so I'm going to be filling in color, or you can like name this color maybe, fill cover. And then let's make a new material that will be my filling color. So if you watch my like speed tutorial of how to do duplicate materials, we're going to do that right now. So in our material preview properties, go to the top of it, the very top right, there should be a plus sign. Hit that, and it's making an empty slot. It didn't make a new material, it just made it a space for a new material. So again, you can either select a pre-existing material by hitting your globe, or you can hit plus new. Cover, mcover. Name it to whatever naming convention you use. And then we're not doing the stroke, we're doing the fill. So I'm going to uncheck stroke, check fill, and then go into base color, and let's make a yellow book. And now, again, do we want to use lights or don't want we use lights? We're not going to use them, but if you have like this bright yellow color and then you put it in and it's like this gross gray color, that's because our use lights is toggled. So that's under, again, your spaghetti, your orange data, object data properties. We can toggle use lights or not. This will just be like kind of like your final decision, where either you are drawing in with these fill colors the shadows, or you can try to cast shadows with light in your scene. So let me undo what I just did. Oh my god, how many times did I click it while I was talking to you guys? Oh my god. So we have a fill bucket in our draw mode, where this gets tricky, where it's not really going to pay attention to layers, it's not going to pay attention to what is level with anything, it's just looking to see like what is intersecting. So if I'm like, oh, let's fill this whole top, let me just click in here, you can see it paid attention to that bottom line. So this is where different layers will be helpful, where I could technically, if I had my bottom cover as a separate layer, I can make it invisible so that it can't see it when I'm doing my dump bucket. So that's why layers will be useful. But I just have to do it the like advanced danger way. I mean, if I do it like this, I don't think that did anything. Also, you might notice my star is gone. So it goes like big to small. So I'd have to like go in separately and then do my star. Actually, let's go ahead and make another color. So again, plus sign, and then new detail. We'll just do detail color. And then we want it to be a fill. And we'll just do like, I want to like it just a different color of yellow. And now you can see I can click vaguely where my star was and fill that in. And if you're like, I don't know where my star is, I can't see it, you can move the order of your layers by hitting these arrows up or down. So now I can go in, click my star, and easily see it. And also, so now you can see the outline of our bottom. We're actually going to change how our layers are appearing. So technically, we do want that as a separate thing, because we can go down to, and again, our object data properties at the very bottom where it says strokes, where stroke depth order is, it's saying 2D layers right now, so it's going to treat your layers like you're looking at a 2D like Photoshop screen where the top layer will be the very top of your screen no matter like where it is in the 3D space. But if we click this drop down, we can have it as 3D location. And when you do this, you might notice a little issue comes up with my star. So because I drew this right directly on my same plane as where my cover is, now my colors from my cover and my star are intersecting. So if you do have any like decorations within a plane, you're gonna have to like probably go into edit mode, raise that up a little bit, just so it's like on top of the cover instead of in line with the cover. Let's see if I can fix that really quick. I wanna select my star, please, and then just move them up. G, Z. Beautiful. And now if I can I refill them in, or do I have to like undo all of that? That's a little bit gross. He might have to be a little bit higher. But just keep that in mind. You might have, again, I probably would have wanted that all separate layers. I like how I like started this where I'm like, I'll have everything separate, and now I'm like, have everything on the same layer. So now that we have that, oh, let's do our bottom cover. And then, oh, change our material first. And technically, so I could go back to my material screen, change my color, or I can go up to my paint bucket options and change it up there. And okay, so what's going on here? I maneuvered my screen to line up my fill bucket, but then it's up here on the same level, and it's just appearing like it filled it. So it's because I need to pay attention again where my canvas is, and because my canvas is up here, that's where my paint effect is going to happen. So I have to change my canvas location before I can actually do the dump bucket. So, I mean, you might notice like when we move this around, it always stays in the center area. So to actually be able to maneuver it in space, we have to change this from origin to 3D cursor. So to the left of where we've been changing where our plane can lay, we can change from origin to 3D cursor. And our 3D cursor isn't actually showing up right now, so let's toggle that on just so we can see it. So go back to your Venn diagram, so the overlays icon, and near the top should be a 3D cursor that you can check mark. And that's what that like little target button is that we've had before. And you can move it around by clicking this and moving it, and you can see my canvas is moving with it now. But I usually don't like using that because I always forget it's on, and then I just accidentally move my cursor. So I'm gonna keep my brush tool on, and I'm gonna use a hotkey to move it. If you moved it and you didn't mean to, we can center it by hitting Shift C. It'll like reset your screen, so you might then have to like do object mode, do your tilde, do view selected to rescale down. But our hotkey for placing our cursor is Shift right click. So anywhere my mouse is, if I hit Shift right click, it's going to pop my cursor there. Again, we're going to have the same issue here because we're in a 3D space. We can't really see the depth we're putting it at. So let's go into our orthographic. And actually, I don't actually want to be in top view. I want to be in like a side view so I can get it down at that level. So front or side. And then I can shift right click. Right down here, it's okay that it's not like centered on this because that's just showing the plane I'm in. So now if I hit my little dump bucket, you can see it's going in the correct area. Beautiful. So now we need, what else, what do we need? We need the spine. We need to make a thickness for the cover. We need the pages. So we need everything. So we're just going to zoom through this, readjusting our canvas and switching off between either drawing our outline or filling in. So let's draw the spine. Make a new layer. So out spine. Pencil. Change my pencil material and the top section to M outline, or I could have gone to material properties. And then I want to draw in this up and down plane, so it's going to be the side view. Then I need to move this over, so let's go to top view. Oh, that is not a straight line. Let's make this the spine just because I did better. Oh, that's the one I fixed. I didn't fix that other one. So shift right click. And now I can go in and connect my lines. Technically, you don't need to draw more lines because, I mean, now if I go in with my dump bucket, you can see it'll just fill that up nicely, but I needed to change layers. But if you did want that like a full separate object, you might make these lines, because if you hide your cover, that's not my cover. It's going to get rid of those other lines. But I just needed to connect them because I don't imagine needing them separate. So let's make another layer for our fill spine. Double click, fill spine. And now dump bucket and cover. Why is my use lights always on? I don't want to use lights. Oh, didn't light up my camera very well. Again, how your camera is positioned with the other stuff is how that fill is going to happen, and also where your canvas is. So it's handy to just like fill as you're going so you don't have to reset your canvases. So if I did all my outlines and then went back to fill everything, I'd have to like reset my canvas 2 times instead of 1 time. So we're starting to get a 3D object. Look at that. My stars, since I've made the other side, the cover is just like awkwardly at the bottom of my book instead of the top. Okay, so now let's draw like the thickness of the cover. So yet another layer, why not? Don't stop typing right away. Okay. But a thick bottom. Ugh. It's just, I don't know what else to call it. Going with it. So we need to change the way our little canvas is facing. So we want to draw it in this plane, but we need to move this over. So let's go again, top view, shift, shift right click. So this I might have to fix a little bit because you can see it's like not lining up with that plane the whole way. That's fine, we'll fix it. But for now, let's try to draw some more perfect lines. Oh God. Sometimes when I draw with my tablet, I'll put like a ruler on my tablet so I can trace my pen across. in a straightish line, so my freehand isn't so bad. But I don't know if I could do that with a mouse. I guess I could try it. That's all right. Again, remember I could go back into my sculpt mode and move this around, and now since I have stuff hideable, so technically if I go in, you can see it moved everything. So creepy bendy book, but if I only wanted to affect the bottom, I can hide everything else, and then it would only move that. So that's why, again, the separate layers are handy. If I just wanted to affect this and nothing else, I can hide everything, fix that, and then bring everything back. So we drew that out. Now let's fill it. I'm not going to do any of the cleanup just for brevity, but again, you can fix stuff with your sculpt tool, hitting F to change the scale of it, or you can even go into edit mode, grab those points and like scale them inward to be a straighter line by scaling towards each other. I don't know if that means. Okay, so but we're just gonna like draw and fill and accept the lines we get. So let's go back to our fill bucket, cover. Do we have a fill? I could probably just have like one fill layer, but fill thick. Position our camera. Turn off use lights for every single layer apparently. Also, if you're having trouble positioning your camera to avoid stuff, you can again hide things so they're not in your scene when you do it. And now let's do the other side of the thickness. I'm just going to keep it, oh, I named that one bottom, so I have to have top. And we'll need a thick side, okay. Out, thick side, out, thick top. And I'll just do them all with the fill thick for the filling. It doesn't matter. Technically, I could go and select these points, duplicate them, slide them over, which I'm going to do. Technically, I could do that. No, I'll do it separate. Be adventurous. Okay. Outline. Thick top is where we want. We need to change where this canvas is. So if I went and drew it now, it would draw it way over on this side. So like, oh. I can't even see it when I'm drawing it because I think I'm drawing it and then it shows up over there. Oh, that's the paint bucket. Draw it. Shows up over there. There we go. So let's go into top view. Shift right click. Oh, and I didn't show you guys something handy with the paint bucket tool that I'll show in a second when I fill this one. And now let's draw. Might help if I go into front view just to make sure I get the same thickness going. Since I didn't copy paste it. Oh, even worse line. Oh god, oh jeez. We're just adding character. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And then I can go into my fill thick. Bring out my bucket. So say you drew some, I forgot to like purposely. If you drew a line and there was like a gap where your two lines weren't actually meeting up and you hit your fill button, your fill bucket, and it's like flows into the whole scene or where places you don't want it to go, you can do like a more specific fill before you do the total fill. So if you do want to do that, I'll just do it in the space, If you hold down Control while you left click, hold down left click, you can kind of like make a shape make a shape of what will be filled. So if there's any corner where it's not connected black lines, you can hold down Control and just do that, and then you can left click the rest of the space and it'll fill it in. So hot tip. Again, you can hide things to get a better view, but otherwise just position your camera. And then let's do our out thick side. It's like outside, but the out thick side. Make sure I'm in my outline. Then can I do front, side, left, right? Huh? Oh, I have to also change my, sorry, I was trying to find a way where I could just like look at this and draw it, but I couldn't tell. Oh, I guess it won't matter as long as I move my canvas. So I need to draw in my YZ plane, and I need to move that. So top view, shift right click, and then if I do, oh no, I won't be able to see. So I'm just gonna go for it. So this is gonna be the biggest swipe ever. Confident lines, everyone. Confident. Beautiful. This might be a case where they're not selecting or connecting all the way, so fill thick, paint bucket, M cover. Let's try to just position our camera. I don't think we can do it. Okay, we're gonna have to hide stuff this time. Hide our cover. Wait, I hid the thing we needed. Oh, and I guess we needed our top and bottom, right? We still need our top and bottom. Where's my other outline? Oh, it's at the top. How's this? So I'm in my fill thick. Oh, and they filled. Otherwise, if they didn't fill, if they weren't connecting, I could either edit stuff or I can hold down Control and do a mini fill. Sorry, I keep hitting Shift C instead of Control V to undo, and it's changing my view. That's why it's flashing. I need all of the warnings for this. Okay, so we have our full cover. Oh, I guess not. We have to do the inside. But I'll just really quick do the rest of it, and then I'll show you guys the finished product in the 3D space. But really it's just going to be me, again, moving my canvas to where it needs to be, connecting lines where they need to be, and filling stuff. So I'll zoom ahead, cut ahead my video to the final product. Okay, so this is my final book. I put in the inner lines. You can see these are like all of my layers now. I have my fill pages, my inside of the book. I made one more material to do the pages. But now, let's just go into object mode. You can see this entire grease pencil object is like one object now. So again, if I wanted to make a bookshelf, I would make an entirely different one. So I can potentially go in, duplicate, make multiple of these books. I can go in and scale these now. And when you're doing all this, make sure you're doing it, like any basic transformations, do them in object mode so that your canvas stays the same. So if I rotate this, because I want this book like to be propped a different way or like rotated, but I'm like, oh wait, I gotta like change my star to be a turtle icon or something, so I have to go back into draw mode. If I do my basic transformations, my rotation mainly within object mode, it's going to rotate my canvas with it so that again, if I have to change where this is laying, it's not lined up with my world grid anymore, but it's laying with my objects grid. So that's just a nice handy thing to keep with you if you are making alterations to the object after you create it. But you can see now I have this 3D book that I can put into my space and fill up my whole scene with more of this toon-styled style modeling rather than the more realistic forms with our polygon modeling. So I encourage you to explore this further if you do want to attempt this style. There are more resources online you can look up, but just experimenting with it for your own sake will be really helpful. So I'll see you guys next time.